Praise the Lord. I wish to share with you from the book of Mark chapter 16. And in Mark chapter 16, we see the account of how Jesus was arrested, crucified, and eventually he resurrected from this grave. The chapter begins by talking about Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Jesus, who went on Sunday morning to embalm the body of Jesus. Sunday morning was the third day from the crucifixion of Jesus. It was intended to be a happy moment, a moment of fulfillment, a moment where the resurrection of Jesus was going to be witnessed by all. Jesus said, "Destroy this temple and I'll build it in 3 days." Even though he was looking at the temple and saying that, he was also talking about the fact that he would die and resurrect in 3 days. But on this fateful morning, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary, his own mother, had gone to the grave with spices, fragrance, beautiful fragrance, and myrrh to embalm the body of Jesus. What were they doing by that act? They were going to perform a ritual, a tradition that went with the dead, purely a cultural practice, a rite of embalming the dead body. The implication is that they believed in the finality of death, and therefore they were saying that Jesus indeed was dead. And if a person was dead, it was the end of the matter, it was the end of the road, it was final. And that is the kind of statement they were making by their action. So it calls into question the understanding of Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Jesus. They were followers of Jesus. It tells you and I that sometimes you say one thing and those who truly believe in you miss it in terms of understanding. Because if they really understood that Jesus was rising in 3 days, then there was no point in they going there to embalm him as to accord him the befitting status, the ritual that went with burying the dead. Nonetheless, they were there all the same on the mission to fulfill that rite. Going in there was risky and not safe in the heat of that moment, because though Jesus was innocent, somehow they had criminalized him and killed him under circumstances that were not noble, in circumstances that was in sync with criminals. That was what they had done to Jesus, stigmatized him, criminalized him. And so it was scary to identify with Jesus in that moment. And no doubt they were going there in the dawn of the day. Even though Saturday, the Sabbath, was an interlude, going early in the morning before the day broke was a sign that they must have something to be covering up, at least making sure that they were not endangered. Coming from the background that it was so scary, even to the point that Peter, the chief of the apostles, had to deny Jesus thrice. These women were careful, they were afraid. And that was the first frustration. Are we going to break through this fear and what the authorities will do against us? Nonetheless, they went in spite of that frustration. And going to the tombstone, they found it sealed with a huge rock that was impossible for the woman to roll it away. That was the second frustration. But standing there, not knowing what to do, suddenly they found the stone rolled away. God had intervened. If God is on your side, if your mission is of God, no matter the hindrance, the limitation, the frustration, God will always make a way. The stone was no more there, so they go into it. The stone had been designed, the grave had been designed in such a way that you had to descend into it on a flight of steps or stairs and walk through a corridor before you finally access the chamber where the body was laid. And as they were negotiating that, they found suddenly they would find a man sitting there in the tombs on the stone on which Jesus was laid. And this man talks to them and directs them. He's not here. He's gone to meet his disciples. Follow up, you will find him. And this man was clad in a white apparel, a sign of a being that was not a human being, but most likely an angelic being, a strange being who directs them. You see, they didn't find the body of Jesus. So that was another source of frustration. The fear was a source of frustration. The stone on the entrance to the tomb was the second frustration. The third was the fact that the body of Jesus was not in the grave. They meet a strange man who directs them to go look for the body elsewhere. And in that moment, the third frustration hit them. I'm sure that in their minds and in their emotions, they were wondering, who is this man? Is what we are seeing, is it real? What is it? Who is this person? Is he telling us the truth? Is it that the body of Jesus had been stolen away? All those emotions were going through their minds. And even the fact that, are we going to really see the body to embalm him, even though this man is directing us this way? It was the resurrection morning, but they had been greeted at least on 3 occasions with the feeling of frustration. Now, frustration is not failure, but that feeling, if you allow it to paralyze you, to bog you down, to arrest you, then failure is going to resolve. In spite of the frustrations, these women continued to follow through, and in the end, they saw Jesus. If you read in the Mark chapter 16, you will find that Jesus had resurrected, and he had appeared unto several other people, including Mary.